forward with everything happening in Austin, we're seeing a lot of activity in this space. Our next speaker is a good friend, and we've worked together a lot in the past, and I'm honored to have him here and honored to know him and have him as a friend and a mentor in this industry. Bryan's got a wealth of knowledge and has been a long time Austinite and very involved in the city, and has some wonderful stories to share, which is really, really great. Always great meeting and talking with Bryan. And I'm thankful for you being here today, Bryan. Thank you so much, and look forward to hearing your presentation this morning.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. It's an honor and a privilege to be on a panel with such accomplished people in the real estate industry, and it's always fun to talk about Austin, Texas. Anybody that knows Mary Ann knows she's a go-getter. I remember when she was over recently and talked about this concept of putting this call together. About 24 hours later, I was getting an email trying to confirm the date. So I'm always excited to work with her. She's represented us on projects in the past and always done a great job. So thank you for your leadership on this call. Also, I can't miss the opportunity to speak just a moment about Gary Farmer. I moved here as a younger man, I should say, about 30 years ago. And early on, I decided to join the Chamber of Commerce. I moved here, didn't know a soul. And I thought, well, I'll join the Chamber of Commerce. I think that might be a good way to meet some people. And a year or two into my membership, I found my way onto the board, and one of the first people I met was Gary Farmer. And he had already done more for Austin at that point than most of us have done even 30 years later. People look at Austin and they think, how in the hell has that happened down there? And I can say, because for 6 years as a board member on the front line and serving shoulder to shoulder with Gary and a lot of other talented business leaders and community leaders in Austin, it wasn't accidental. It was actually very deliberate, very planned, and it involved a lot of hard work and a lot of time. And I'll never forget one time I was in a meeting with Gary. It very well may have been a chamber board meeting, and he said something that stuck with me forever. It was probably about 1995. He said, you know, if you're not making dust, you're eating somebody else's. And that has stuck with me for a very long time. And I would say, when you think about Austin and its success in terms of economic development and the way Austin, Texas is evolving and turning into a city that's been recognized internationally and nationally in so many ways, maybe there are some people out there that are eating a little bit of Austin's dust. But as Gary always reminds everybody, you can't get lackadaisical, because the success that we have achieved is only the beginning. And as he mentioned today, we've got many headwinds that we need to face head on as leaders of this community to make sure that our city really has an opportunity to reach its potential. So real happy to call him a friend, and want to thank him on this call for his more than 30 years of leadership at the forefront of what Austin has become. And it's sure a great honor to be together with these other fine developers. These projects that I look at that you guys are doing make mine feel so insignificant when you look at the scale of what you're doing down in some of these areas of Austin. And they are changing the skyline of Austin in such a dramatic way. Probably about 2-3 years ago, I was down with my wife at the Palmer Event Center, and we were standing on the patio and I looked back at downtown, and I started counting the number of mid-rise and high-rise buildings that weren't here when I arrived on the ground in 1990. And I stopped counting when I got to about 45. And then most recently, I was at a meeting that Gary, as chair of Opportunity Austin, held, and I think Tim Hendricks with Cousins talked about the fact that as dense as Austin's downtown is today, it has the opportunity to double. So what we're looking at downtown today has the opportunity to double. And of course, the Domain, which is widely referred to as a second downtown, is a whole nother phenomenon. So I think we're really blessed. I love the real estate business. I love Austin, and I can't think of a better place to be in this business than in Austin, Texas. So wanted to take just a moment today to share with you a little bit about what we've got going on. Let me have that next slide, please. So we're not a big organization. We've got 63 members, but we're homegrown. We were started right here in Austin, Texas, and all the work we do is in Austin, Texas. We currently are focused and have been on opportunities that are in the urban core or real near the urban core of Austin. We enjoy going into the established neighborhoods in Austin and getting to know the neighborhood groups and trying to develop projects that honor the traditions of those neighborhoods and try to create new homes that give a nod to the history of those neighborhoods and try to add value to those neighborhoods in a thoughtful way. Next slide, please. We do that using something that I learned about early on in my real estate career called integrated project management. So that's a fancy way of saying basically we're vertically integrated. We do everything from selecting our sites to hiring the consultants that design the product that we're going to develop and build and sell or manage. We manage the consultants through that entitlement process, and then we own our own construction company. So we have a captive construction capability that only works for our company. So if you see our trucks or our people out running around, they're working on a project that we are the developer of and either will own long-term or we're developing it to sell. So we carry that all the way through construction, and then in the event that we are selling product like a townhome or condo project, we've got a small team of sales professionals that interact with all the terrific real estate agencies here in Austin to work with them to try to find buyers that are interested in those projects. And then in some cases, we develop product that we lease, and we have the capability to lease and manage those properties here in-house as well. Next slide, please. So I wanted to cover just a few of the recent projects that we've been involved with, and we're looking back now over the last 5 years. Next slide. 1010 West 10 was an incredible project opportunity. It sits at the corner of 10th and Baylor, right across the street from the former location of the graffiti park, which anybody that lives in Austin probably has some awareness of. It was this is representative of some of the types of work we do in the urban core, where we go in and find a piece of property and develop something that's fairly exclusive. So this was a 14-unit project that had a swimming pool, secure parking, right on the edge of downtown without living in the middle of downtown. That was completed in 2018. Next slide, please. J. Bolden Residences. This project was located in the Bolden Creek neighborhood, Johanna Street, which is just off South Congress, or what all the locals love to refer to as SoCo. It's 38 luxury units. These were sold. This project was really special because at the heart of this property was an old church building that was built in 1939, and it served as a Catholic church there for this part of Austin for a number of years. And then in the late 60s, about 1967, it became home to the Boys and Girls Club of South Austin. The Boys and Girls Club of South Austin decided to change their business model about how they deliver services and start delivering those through the public school system campuses. So they decided to monetize that asset and put those dollars from the sale of their real estate into programs for the youth in Austin. So we were happy to be involved with that. We took a look at the property and decided that the church really needed to be the heart of that project. So we repurposed that thoughtfully into 4 very high-end townhomes that we marketed and sold for about $900,000 each. We flanked that with a 5-unit, 3-level townhome building that had incredible views of the downtown Austin skyline facing to the northward. And then we had a 29-unit flats building that flanked the other side. So we're real proud of that project, and we we felt like that it really added a great project in that area of town that was very walkable for the residents there. That was completed in 2018. Next slide, please. Terrytown Place was one of our first ventures into the condo for sale. It was a smaller project right on Enfield Road. It was only 6 units, and we completed that in 2014. Didn't really set out to get into the condo business for sale, but we were having trouble when we were just focused on apartment for lease at competing with condo townhome developers on land, because the condo townhome guys could pay slightly higher price per door. This was a project that Mary Ann and her firm helped us market and sell, and we learned an awful lot together as we went through that project. Next slide, please. 1512 was right in the heart of Terrytown. This is a very special project to us. You can see the downtown view from up on the rooftop pool deck. It was a 19-unit a boutique apartment project, and I can't help but share this brief story. In the January of 2008, Angelos Angelou held his annual economic forecast, and it was a packed, crowded house as always down at the Austin Convention Center, and the publisher of The Economist magazine was the keynote speaker, and she's quite a smart lady, made a wonderful presentation and was talking about the oncoming crisis with subprime mortgage. And I left the room, and I think probably there were others that left the room and didn't really quite understand what she was talking about, because we didn't really have that issue in Texas. So I went out and bought this property thinking we were going to do 4 or 5 high-end homes in a condominium regime. And so I bought it in April of 2008, and then went into design process and had the whole thing planned. And then 2008, September, Lehman Brothers goes bankrupt, and all of a sudden the world turns upside down. And here I am, the proud owner of a couple of houses I'm trying to rent in Terrytown that won't even cover the holding costs. So we had to pivot, and I decided that, you know, boutique apartments in very good locations were going to become something that we should be interested in and try to lead on. So that was 19 units, and we completed that in 2013. Next slide. Ivana was in Hyde Park. It's another boutique apartment property, had 22 luxury residences. And by the way, one of our signatures, even on these smaller projects, is to do nice amenity packages for the residents. So we had a small gym there. We had a rooftop pool with views of downtown Austin. That one was completed in 2015. Next slide. The Braxton, this was the former location of the Omeletry restaurant. So any longtime Austin residents will be familiar with where this is. It's at corner of 49th and Burnett Road. We've got neighbors like Pint House Pizza near us. The Omeletry restaurant, I was with my wife one Sunday morning having breakfast, and we sat at the counter, and I saw a guy that was hustling. He had a headband on, and he was really working hard, and anybody that ate there knows there was a standing room only crowd there. And I thought, you know, this guy looks like he may own this place. And I had heard a rumor that they were going to be closing. And so I stopped him and I said, well, I heard you're closing. What's going on? I said, well, we're closing, but we're really moving. And I said, well, what's going to happen with this piece of property? And he said, well, we're not sure. And so I left there on the back of my guest check with the name and phone number of a lady up in Flower Mound, Texas, that had inherited the property. And after some period of time, some process, we became the owners of the dirt. Kenny Carpenter, who relocated the Omeletry over onto Airport Boulevard, his business has never been better in his new location prior to COVID. And I think I like to talk about that because redevelopment in the urban core in Austin, Texas sometimes is something that's controversial, especially when there's an iconic restaurant or some other business that feels like it's displaced. But in this particular case, this is a great example where Kenny got the chance to master plan his new location for efficiency, and his business has never been greater. And we actually had the ribbon cutting set for this deal right before COVID, and Kenny is going to cut the ribbon whenever we can gather that many people in one place. So we pay homage to the restaurant in our lobby. And that's 54 luxury residences for lease that we own. Rooftop pool, nice gym, dog park at the corner of 49th and Burnet Road. Next slide, please. Now we move into the current projects. These are projects that we have under construction. Next slide, please. We've got 48 urban residences that we call the Grange at Westgate, which sits right by the Sunset Valley Farmers Market down near the Central Market down there and right on the edge of Sunset Valley. We're just wrapping this up. We're going, all the other guys on the call will know the joy we're having now as we go through the final inspections that are required to turn over this property. But this 48 urban residences, all but one are sold. They ranged in price from $350,000 to about $405,000. So we've got a lot of people that are eager to move into their new homes there at the Grange over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Next slide, please. Province is another project in Tarrytown, and this is kind of a pattern with us. When we get into an area of Austin and we get comfortable with the neighborhood association and we get comfortable with the existing infrastructure in that area, we try to capitalize on that knowledge and do other projects. So Forest Trail sits just slightly to the eastward and north of this property. Actually, you could throw a baseball and hit Forest Trail from the roof deck of one of these homes. And Little Enfield, which was Tarrytown Place, sits just about half a block to the westward of this project. So this will be our third project in Tarrytown. It's 18 luxury residences. The A units, which sit on the eastern property line, have some killer downtown views. Very super high-end finishes. It's gated. It's under construction and will be finished sometime around Thanksgiving of this year. These start at $800,000 and range up to $1.5 million. This is a lock and leave product that is basically, actually, a lot of the buyers, I think we've got about 60% of this sold at this point. Many of these buyers are people that live in this neighborhood that are selling their home, they're empty nesters, and they're downsized and want something to lock and leave. But we still got some great options for agents that are listening on this property, and we'd love to talk to you about that in greater detail. Next slide, please. Westline, we're really excited about this one. This one is in the heart of Clarksville on 9th Street, right next to West Austin Park. We spent 2 years in the planning process. A year of that was at the Landmark Commission. This property sits at the gateway to the National Historic Registered District that Clarksville worked so hard to create. And right in the midst of our planning of this project, they were able to pass a local historic district. So we've got some historic district overlays on this. When we bought this property, it had 7 homes on it. And we went through a thoughtful process of how we would redevelop this. This was zoned, by the way. We could have gone in and done a podium style condominium style building and probably done 3 to 4 floors above a podium. We chose deliberately to underdevelop this property, and we chose to repurpose 3 of those 7 homes. So if you have a chance to drive by there, you can see what we're doing. We're really excited about it. So three of the 16 homes in this development are going to be homes that have been on that property, some of which more than 70 years, that are being repurposed and updated. And we call this Westline. One of the stories I like to tell about this one is, and you know, there's no new history, and many of you are aware that at the turn of the century, about 1903, Austin got a trolley car system that went straight up Congress Avenue. And I started doing research on that a couple of years ago, and I was amazed that the leader of that effort was a real estate developer, and he was developing a area of Austin called Hyde Park, and he was having a hell of a time getting people to commute all the way from downtown to Hyde Park. So he decided to put a trolley car system in. And the west line of the trolley car system, which came later, ran right up through Clarksville. So this project is named for that, and we're paying homage to that, as well as these homes that we're repurposing. This is under construction now. We expect to have this available in the fall of 2021. We're really excited that we're about to launch the marketing and sales of this project. We've got a sales center here in our office that all the agents that are listening to this call need to come by and check out. Mary Ann and a bunch of her team came over for a preview of it several weeks ago. We're using some virtual technology. We can give your clients a virtual tour of the property as well as the interiors of every one of these homes. So you can see exactly what you've got available to you, including the opportunity to change the color schemes of the cabinets and floors. We're very excited about this. So please reach out to us if you have clients that are looking for a lock and leave in the heart of Austin without being in the heart of downtown Central Business District. Next slide, please. The color field, another one we're really excited about. About 2.5 years ago, my dear friend Vic Iad agreed to sell us the site that had been the home of the graffiti park, and everybody that knew me said I'd lost my mind. And by the time I got through the closure of the graffiti park, I thought I was about to lose my mind trying to go through that in a thoughtful way. And we were able to develop a great relationship with the Hope Foundation, and we have been an active participant in assisting them and helping them with their new location. And we have named this building the Color Field to pay respect to what that property was while it was the graffiti park. And in fact, you can't see it very well in this rendering, but the wall that screens the garage on this property off Baylor Street actually is going to have an art wall that'll be curated art behind glass, and the homeowners here will have the opportunity to change that at their will. We are engaging two of the most famous artists that actually started their career from the graffiti park to commission a nice art piece there that will tee this project off when it's finished. This is only 10 luxury residences, but it is super high end. There are 2 penthouses that are about 5,000 square feet air conditioned, and they have 2,000 square foot outdoor living areas with private swimming pools with views you won't believe. If any of you have ever been to the castle up at Vic Iad's office at Castle Hill Partners, that is the view you have there. So the parking is ample, it's secure, the building is fantastic, and it's going to have a true green roof. And that's something we've had to go to school on, but we're going to have a nice swimming pool. The penthouse units have their private outdoor areas with their private pool. There's a common pool up on the roof for the other 8 residences, and each of those other 8 residences have their own private cabana space up on the roof. So we're real excited about that. We're just coming out of permitting, and we expect to start this project sometime between now and January and deliver this property in the spring of 2022. So please contact us. We're going to have the same virtual tour technology on this one that I mentioned about Westline. Next slide, please. Now we move to a product that we're real excited about this project. It's different for us, but we really are excited about it because what we've been doing for about the last decade works really well in the urban core of Austin, and potentially it could work in some exceptional areas down in San Antonio, but we haven't really had a product that we could go after the market between here and San Antonio along the I-35 corridor. So we purchased 42 acres on Ditmar about a year and a half ago. Ditmar sits at about the 50-yard line between Slaughter and William Cannon, and we have gone through the beautiful site development permit process at the city of Austin, and we have come out of that permitted to do 232 homes there. So we've created an entire team to execute this project. It'll be a gated community, 232 urban residences in a condominium regime. These are freestanding. There's about 160 of them that are detached, and there's about 70 that are attached. Swimming pool, it's got a 10-acre park with walking trails. These will be priced from the high 300s to the mid 400s. So we're real excited about having a really strong product offering at that price point to take advantage of some of the job creation that we're talking about here on this call. Next slide, please. In our pipeline, oh, by the way, South Stone is getting ready to go under construction in the next 60 days, and we're anticipating that we could be out of it as soon as 3 years, but perhaps 4. A lot of it depends on how we continue to see Austin's economy evolve as we come out of COVID. As we move to our pipeline properties, we're real excited about these that are coming. These are either in planning or in permitting. The Lindsay sits at 2607 South First Street. It's about 2 blocks south of Old Torf. It's called the Lindsay because for years and years it was a family-owned business called Lindsay Small Engine Repair. And so when we bought the property from the Lindsays, he was the 3rd generation owner of that business, and it was a business like many others that had kind of come to a point where it wasn't as robust as it used to be. So he decided to sell the real estate and retire. When he sold it to us, we thought, well, what are we going to call this property? And so we kicked it around and decided that we should go ask Mr. Lindsay if we could call the building the Lindsay. And we went and met, and his family was there, and he was quite emotional and touched by it as the 3rd generation owner that had decided he needed to sell. So we're real excited about this. It's going to be 114 luxury residences. We're still looking at this one. We haven't quite decided whether we're going to do residential for lease or residential for sale. We expect to make that decision soon, and we expect to be under construction on this one sometime mid-2021 and deliver this building in the spring of 2023. Next slide, please. We've been busy. We bought a piece of property located at 3219 Manor Road, which is right on the backside of Mueller at Manor and Tillery. And I bought this, had the property under contract, and we were about 30 days from closing, and somebody called me up and said, use the phrase opportunity zone. I said, opportunity what? And I didn't even know it was an opportunity zone. Went to school on it, learned all the aspects of it, and we pivoted and decided to create an apartment property there. And then along the way, we have picked up 3303 Manor Road, which sits on the opposite side of Tillery. And then we have assembled about 4.2 acres on the other side of that property, which we are in the midst of starting the planning process on. So we've got a combined about 7 acres that sits along Manor Road that's all opportunity zone right on the back door of Mueller, just east of Airport Boulevard. So we're going to be spending about the next 6 or 7 years building our way out of this one. Next slide, please. This will be the first of those properties. This one will go under construction in the next 30 to 45 days. This is called the Emma. It's 146 luxury residences for lease. We named it the Emma. We went in, and we always try to pick a name that's associated directly with the property. It has some historical significance. When we can't do that, we kind of broaden our reach a little bit. And with the proximity to Mueller, we did some homework, and we learned about a lady by the name of Emma Browning, who was quite a character. She was a pioneer aviator, pioneer female aviator, who was a barnstormer, and then got married, and she and her husband trained World War II fighter pilots out at Mueller, and then they started a private aviation services company that she operated for years and years. She lived to be 99 years old, was recognized by the Texas Aviation Hall of Fame as one of the most significant female aviators in the country. So we've named this property for Emma Browning. It's called the Emma, and we're giving a nod to the Art Deco period of her prime, and we're going to have kind of a slight aviation theme to this building. Next slide, please. Then we're going to do 3303 Manor. We're going to be going into the planning permitting process here in the next couple of 2 or 3 months. We believe this is going to be 180 to 200 units. This is a property that could benefit tremendously if our city council makes any final calls on updating the land development code as it relates to compatibility setbacks and height restrictions on major transit corridors. So that one will be coming. We haven't branded it yet, but we expect it to be on par with the Emma. Next slide, please. And then with this one, which is a 4-acre site, it's got access from Theo and Manor Road. And we expect this to be a minimum of 400 housing units, and we will do some sort of legitimate mixed use project here. We don't know at the moment what that'll be. We're still looking at our options. Next slide. So anyway, I think Marianne will probably share these slides. If any of you folks have any questions about any of the projects that we've discussed, or just want to come by and visit with us and get to know us, we'd love to have you over for a cup of coffee or a Coke. And all of our contact information is here. And I want to thank again Marianne for doing such a great job of putting this opportunity together for us to showcase what we're working hard on every day. We're very proud to be a part of the real estate development industry in Austin, Texas, and look forward to many more years of developing unique and successful projects as we go through the future here.